The more things change, the more they stay the same. You're probably thinking, what does this quote have to do with anything related to Overwatch? I think it's an excellent comment to make about the game in general. With the new Winter Wonderland event coming out, a lot of people were making comparisons back to the first time that we saw this event in 2016, where people viewed it rather positively, especially in comparison to Overwatch 2's iteration of the same event. For example, people talked about how in Overwatch 1, the welcome screen that we saw upon first logging in gave us loot boxes. In Overwatch 2, when you logged in for the first time, they gave you weapon charms and some player icons. And the inclusion of a seasonal event battle pass certainly didn't help mitigate the soured reaction. And this small little argument between, the differences between the seasonal events in Overwatch 1 and Overwatch 2 got me thinking about the greater conversation about how people will look between these two games and make the argument that one is better than the other. And while a lot of it does have to do with gameplay, which can be subjective, people will look at the monetization of the game, which comes down to one thing. Overwatch 1 had loot boxes, and Overwatch 2 has a battle pass. A lot of people believe that loot boxes were the more consumer-friendly option, especially in comparison to the modern monetization models that we see in most AAA games, including Overwatch 2. And could this be true? Could loot boxes have been more consumer-friendly? Sure. But let's go back to that quote. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Gameplay changes aside, and focusing on the quote, nothing has really changed between the both Overwatch versions. The gaming market changed. So from what I see, sure, things changed. Overwatch 2 now has a battle pass, a shop, and a limited way to earn a premium currency to spend in the shop that otherwise costs real-world money. But as you see now, things have stayed the same relative to the greater market. You look at games like Rocket League, how they've moved away from player trading and now focus on a purely shop-based monetization system, which takes real money. Valorant, which has very expensive customization options. Even Diablo 4 has customization options, a battle pass, very similar to Overwatch. But at the same time, some of the most popular games of the year don't fall to this model. I think of games like The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, Baldur's Gate 3, the Dead Space remake, Hogwarts Legacy, and Ready or Not. So what I'm trying to say with those list of games is that it's not necessary for games to have this oppressive feeling monetization model, but that it's overall common in this gaming market. And maybe we should look back at Overwatch 1's monetization model and realize that maybe we look back on it a little too fondly. And what I'm referring to is the loot box controversy back in 2016-2017. People saw loot boxes as a predatory gaming model that took advantage of a young population that made up a sizable portion of the gaming market. Some even considered this gambling, especially if you think back to skin wagers in games like CSGO. It was estimated that up to $7.4 billion worth of skins were wagered in 2016. That's 1 year alone. And this isn't to shit on Overwatch 1. I've always believed that they've had one of the more ethical implementations of loot boxes. There was no issues with skin gambling or market manipulation with the rarity of skins or anything like that, or with anything like that. It was always very ethically sound, in my opinion, aside from the fact that obviously they were using loot boxes. But having said that, I don't think it's fair to say that Overwatch 1's monetization model with loot boxes is so easily ethically superior to Overwatch 2's monetization model. And I don't say this to defend Overwatch 2's monetization model either. Both have their problems and both are harmful to consumers in their own ways. But I think it's time to take off the rose-colored glasses and look back at Overwatch 1's monetization model without the comfort of nostalgia and see it for what it was. A flawed system to make money, much like what we have in Overwatch 2. So in conclusion, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Blizzard and their developers and the guys higher up are still looking for ways to make money off of this beloved IP. Whether it's through loot boxes or a battle pass in a shop, they're here to make money. And I think it's important that we look back on that and look at both games fairly and equally to see what they were, what they are, and how maybe they haven't changed so much.